And at the influence of ego on work, how it shapes behavior, culture, and performance. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel, Egopedia. Please click the bell icon and don't forget to subscribe. In every workplace, whether a small startup or a global corporation, there is an invisible force that profoundly influences decision-making, collaboration, communication, and performance. The ego. The ego, in its simplest definition, is our sense of self. It's the internal voice that defines our identity, defends our image, and seeks validation. While ego can be a source of confidence and drive, it can also distort perception, create conflict, and obstruct growth. Understanding how ego functions in the professional environment is key to building healthy relationships, developing leadership skills, and creating a high-performance culture. What is ego in the context of work? Ego at work is not just arrogance or boastfulness, it includes a range of behaviors and thoughts tied to how we perceive ourselves and how we want others to perceive us. Ego is the need to be right, the need to feel important, the fear of looking incompetent, the resistance to being challenged or criticized, the desire for status, control, or recognition. The ego often drives us to protect our reputation, even at the expense of truth, collaboration, or organizational goals. 2. Positive functions of ego in the workplace. Before we look at the downsides, it's important to recognize that ego isn't inherently bad. In moderation, it plays constructive roles. 1. Motivation and achievement. A healthy ego pushes us to strive, achieve goals, and demonstrate capability. It helps us persevere through challenges and assert our strengths when needed. 2. Self-confidence. A well-balanced ego provides inner stability. It allows us to speak up, offer ideas, and take responsibility without constant self-doubt. 3. Personal branding. In competitive environments, ego can help professionals establish a strong identity and advocate for their contributions, which is important for career advancement. However, once ego becomes inflated, fragile, or overly defensive, it turns into a liability. 3. How ego negatively impacts work performance and culture. 1. Blocks learning and growth. Ego resists the idea of not knowing. When we fear looking incompetent, we stop asking questions or seeking help, even when we need it. This stunts personal development and can lead to costly mistakes. Example: an employee refuses to attend training because they believe they already know enough, even though new methods could improve their work. 2. Destroys collaboration and teamwork. High ego individuals often talk more than they listen, dismiss others' ideas, take credit for group achievements, struggle to admit when they're wrong. This leads to distrust, disengagement, and a toxic team dynamic. Example: in meetings, a team member constantly interrupts others and pushes their agenda. Over time, colleagues stop contributing ideas out of frustration or fear of conflict. 3. Causes resistance to feedback. Feedback is essential for improvement. But when ego sees feedback as a threat instead of a tool, it results in defensiveness, denial, or blame shifting. Impact: decreased self-awareness, stagnant performance, frustrated managers and peers. 4. Promotes unhealthy competition. A fragile ego craves validation and attention. This can lead to withholding information to appear more competent, undermining colleagues, competing for recognition rather than focusing on collective success. Result: a culture of rivalry rather than collaboration. 5. Impairs leadership effectiveness. Leaders with unchecked egos surround themselves with yes people, avoid accountability, overestimate their abilities, fail to empower others. This leads to poor decision-making, employee turnover, and organizational stagnation. 6. Impacts mental health and emotional resilience. Ego often ties self-worth to success or external validation. When challenges arise, like failure, rejection, or criticism, people with fragile egos take it personally and spiral into stress, anxiety, or burnout. Fourth, ego triggers in the workplace. Workplaces are filled with situations that trigger ego reactions. Performance reviews, even constructive criticism can feel like a personal attack. Promotions, feeling overlooked can spark jealousy or resentment. Public mistakes, being corrected in front of others may wound one's pride. New leadership, a change in authority can challenge long-held status or control. Peer success, when a colleague advances faster, it may cause ego-based comparison. Recognizing these triggers is the first step toward managing ego effectively. V. Balancing ego. Strategies for professionals. 1. Develop self-awareness. Use reflection and mindfulness to notice when ego is driving your reactions. Ask, why am I reacting this way? Journaling or coaching can help uncover ego patterns. 2. Practice humble confidence. Be confident in your strengths, but open to learning and feedback. Say, I don't know, but I'd love to learn. Accept mistakes as part of growth, not as personal failures. 3. Seek feedback. Actively invite input regularly, not just during reviews. Ask teammates, what's one thing I could do better? Normalize feedback as a path to excellence. 4. Celebrate others' success. Turn envy into admiration and curiosity. Say, that's amazing. How did you achieve it? Learn from their approach and express genuine praise. 5. Reframe criticism. Instead of, they're attacking me, reframe feedback as, this is a gift for my development. 6. Choose purpose over pride. Let long-term goals and values guide you, not momentary ego satisfaction. Example, instead of winning an argument with a colleague, focus on solving the problem together to serve the team's mission. 6th, the leader's role in managing ego culture. Leaders influence how ego manifests across an organization. A culture that rewards humility, learning, and collaboration will keep ego in check. Leadership tips: model vulnerability, admit mistakes, ask for input, promote psychological safety, reward team achievements, not just individual status, discourage blame culture, encourage continuous learning regardless of title. 7. Case studies, ego in action, high ego team failure. A sales manager ignored junior team members' suggestions, believing only he knew best. The team missed their targets for 3 consecutive quarters. After an internal review, it was clear that silenced innovation and poor morale were the root causes. Ego balanced success. At another firm, a project lead admitted during a meeting that she had misunderstood the client's request. Her honesty encouraged her team to speak openly. They corrected course quickly and delivered above expectations. The openness saved time and strengthened team trust. 8th conclusion, ego is not the enemy, but it must be managed. Ego is a natural part of being human. At work, it can drive ambition and self-worth, but if it dominates, it can sabotage relationships, blind decision-making, and poison workplace culture. The goal is not to eliminate ego, but to balance it with humility, self-awareness, and service to others. In doing so, we become not only better colleagues and leaders, but more resilient, authentic, and fulfilled individuals. Key takeaways. Ego can help or hurt performance depending on how it's managed. It affects collaboration, feedback, leadership, and team culture. Self-awareness, humility, and openness are essential tools. Balanced professionals build stronger relationships, make better decisions, and grow faster. The influence of ego in the workplace. Understanding, managing, and mastering it. Introduction. In the workplace, technical skills and experience matter, but what truly shapes long-term success is often hidden beneath the surface. Ego. Ego isn't just arrogance. It's our sense of self-importance, our attachment to identity, and our need to be seen a certain way. In small doses, ego drives ambition and confidence. But when left unchecked, it becomes a silent saboteur, undermining collaboration, blocking growth, and damaging relationships. This article explores how ego affects work in practical, detailed terms, backed by real-life examples and actionable strategies for both employees and leaders. I. What is ego in the workplace? At its core, ego is how we perceive ourselves, how we want others to perceive us, how we react when either of those is challenged. In the workplace, ego shows up when you feel the need to prove you're right, even if you're not. You reject criticism, even when it's constructive. You can't handle a colleague's success without envy. You take every disagreement personally. Real example, corporate environment. A senior engineer at a tech company refused to update his coding practices because his way always worked. When junior developers proposed more efficient, modern methods, he dismissed them. Over time, the team's innovation slowed, morale dropped, and the company had to bring in an external consultant to mediate and retrain the team on collaboration. Second, positive functions of ego when balanced. Not all ego is harmful. When managed properly, ego can drive ambition, a desire to achieve high goals; resilience, the strength to bounce back from failure; self-advocacy, knowing your worth and standing up for yourself. Real example, a young marketing associate who believed in her potential pitched a campaign idea to her manager, even though she was nervous. Her confidence, not arrogance, helped the team win a major client. The key difference? A balanced ego doesn't need to dominate others to feel secure. 3. The destructive side of ego at work. 1. Inability to take feedback. Ego tells us, if I'm wrong, I'm weak. So, it avoids feedback, even when that feedback could help us grow. Real example, during a performance review, a team lead was told he needed to improve his communication with junior staff. He replied, "They just don't understand my leadership style." Months later, 2 team members resigned due to lack of clarity and mentorship. Second, damaged team collaboration ego wants to win, not collaborate. It hoards information, dominates discussions, and ignores input. Real example, cross-department conflict. A product manager refused to coordinate with the customer service department, insisting, "They don't understand the product the way I do." As a result, user issues went unresolved for weeks, leading to negative customer reviews. 3. Avoidance of accountability. Ego hates being blamed, so when things go wrong, it points fingers instead of owning the issue. Real example, an operations supervisor blamed a junior staff member for a delivery delay, even though the root cause was his failure to update the schedule. This caused resentment and mistrust across the department. 4. Toxic leadership behavior. Leaders with inflated egos often take credit for team successes, react emotionally to criticism, surround themselves with people who only agree with them. Real example, startup environment. A startup founder refused to take advice from his co-founders and pivot the business model. He saw it as admitting defeat. The company burned through its funding and shut down within a year. Fourth, psychological roots. Why ego shows up at work. Understanding the why helps manage it better. Fear of inadequacy. Ego masks insecurity with overconfidence. Fear of judgment. It overreacts to protect our image. Desire for validation. It seeks praise to feel worthy. Fear of loss of control. It resists change and new ideas. Insight. Ego is a self-protection mechanism, but in a modern work environment that values agility, humility, and collaboration, this protection often backfires. V. Hidden costs of an ego-driven culture. A workplace where ego goes unchecked will experience problem impact, poor communication, misalignment, Inefficiency, high turnover. Employees leave toxic environments, lack of innovation. New ideas are suppressed. Stalled growth, personal and team development stagnates. Case example, manufacturing company. A continuous improvement team was formed to increase efficiency. However, the plant manager ignored their recommendations, seeing them as a challenge to his authority. The improvement projects were delayed by 6 months, costing the company $250,000 in lost output. 6. How to manage ego at work for employees. 1. Practice self-reflection. Ask yourself after meetings, was I listening or defending? Use journals or coaching to uncover patterns. 2. Seek feedback regularly. Normalize it. What's one thing I could improve? Act on it, even if it's uncomfortable. 3. Use we more than I. Shift focus from personal glory to team success. 4. Acknowledge mistakes or say, that's on me, I'll fix it. It builds trust and maturity. 5. Celebrate others. Genuinely praise your colleague's work. Example, instead of competing with a colleague for praise after a successful project, say, I couldn't have done it without Lisa's idea. It really tied everything together. For leaders and managers, 1. Model vulnerability. Admit when you're wrong. Show it's safe to not have all the answers. 2. Build psychological safety. Encourage team members to challenge ideas respectfully. 3. Reward collaboration, not just results. Recognize behaviors that build the team, not just performance metrics. 4. Balance authority with approachability. Power without humility drives fear, not respect. 5. Train emotional intelligence, EQ. Offer workshops or coaching on managing ego and building empathy. 7th. Final reflection. Transforming ego into a strength. Ego doesn't have to be the enemy. When balanced, it becomes a source of personal drive without arrogance, a way to build healthy boundaries without selfishness, a guide to develop confidence with humility. Real example, ego-balanced leadership. A CEO at a logistics company admitted in an all-hands meeting that a recent strategy failed and explained what the team learned. This honesty earned deep respect and made employees feel safe to take calculated risks too. Conclusion. From ego-driven to purpose-driven workplaces thrive when people put purpose over pride and growth over image. Recognizing and balancing ego is not about becoming passive or invisible. It's about being clear-headed, emotionally intelligent, and team-oriented. Every time we choose to listen more, react less, own our mistakes, and celebrate others, we weaken ego and strengthen workplace culture. Remember, ego seeks validation, purpose seeks impact. Choose wisely. Thank you for watching our video. See you again.